Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. Today's eHero is, I think, one of the probably greatest people I know when it comes to martial arts. Personally, Brannon Beliso out of Silicon Valley,
Yeah, San Francisco Millbrae. So we're right along the peninsula where
and
Facebook, Tesla, Google, Apple, YouTube. YouTube's like right around the corner here.
and
Yeah,
so
so
what we're
we're
going to do
hitting.
today is talk about utilizing technology when you have a brick and mortar fitness studio. And maybe it doesn't apply to everyone, but I think that you're going to get enough ideas out of this to understand that technology can be your friend, especially during these crazy times we're in.
Well, I think definitely, Rob, by default, we thought technology was a part of our lives. But after this pandemic, technology is our lives.
Yeah.
And I'm watching my children wake up in the morning, get online, take virtual schooling for 2, 3 hours. Then they eat lunch. Then my son hops into a virtual basketball class. My daughter's on some arts and crafts class. And then they hop into their martial arts class later in the day virtually. And the band played on. And so when this pandemic first came down, and martial arts don't, up until this point, was never really viable online. We laughed at people like that. We
Mhm.
said you could never learn martial arts other than in person effectively. And there's always going to be that argument for that. So
Mhm.
I don't think it's a matter of, like I said before we started, my eagle claws better than your tiger kung fu. It really came down to a values based decision. And that value was, and it was based upon data. Data, March 16th, you're closed. Data, how do we continue to do what we love?
Yeah.
And of course, data as an entrepreneur and a business owner, how do I generate revenue?
Mhm.
So it was an easy. Virtual was the only medium that we were given. So literally, they closed us on the 16th. We were up and running by the 19th. By the
Wow.
19th. And if you look out, as I shared in our Millboard location, we have 2 big virtual studios for classes, and then we have 5 pods that are teaching private lessons all day long.
That's
All day
amazing.
long. So we're cranking out 100 private lessons a week right now and 40 group classes.
That's insane. I think you look at some of these studios now, and they were basically crippled.
Yeah.
And as we talked off off the podcast earlier, is that there's a difference between being a true martial arts entrepreneur and being what we call weekend warriors. You're only doing it in the evening or on the weekend past your full-time job, and so you don't want to invest all this money into technology if it's just not your full-time living.
Well, I mean, if we think again, that mindset, part-time effort, part-time results, full-time effort, full-time results. I
Hmm.
mean, that's a given. So we have a lot of that where people will work a day job and then they shine as the master at night. So it's the yin to their yang. It
Yeah.
feeds whatever their ego. I'm going to say that sometimes because I've walked into schools like that. And literally, it's like by day, I work for the water department. By night, I'm master so-and-so. So it works well. Does it help improve the business element of the martial arts? I mean, there's an argument that maybe it doesn't,
Yeah.
that it's challenging. So I don't expect them to pivot into virtual because there's no need. I just work my day job till this thing's over,
Yeah.
right? Especially if they're allowed to do that. But for those of us that have brick and mortar locations, I mean, my rent in Millbrae is 15,000. My rent in San Francisco is over 12. But I'm a huge advocate of location, location, location. Right. I don't own the building, but neither does Starbucks. I can see a Starbucks out my window. There's a 24-hour fitness above me that's been closed for 3 months. And so it was really a no-brainer. And we pivoted hard into this virtual environment. One of the things we've cultivated out of it is we revived our kickboxing program in a sense that we partnered with other businesses. So we have 55 schools worldwide that are using our kickboxing. We broadcast live, do not do pre-recorded stuff. I think that's the real big difference here, is that if I want pre-recorded, I just go to YouTube. It's
Yeah.
been there forever. But doing it live, physical distancing, I understand. Social distancing, absolutely not. So when I can look out at Zoom and say, all right, Rob, get your knee up higher. Excellent, Rob. I love how your back is straight on that push-up. And there's that immediate interaction where people are saying your name. They're engaging you. then that experience is heightened.
Yeah.
It's heightened. I know so many people who simply made videos and threw them up at YouTube and said, "I'll see you when this thing's over."
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a good choice.
Yeah. The Zoom has made it very, very easy for a lot of people, I think, to transition. Uh, but Facebook now has their own rooms, which
Yeah, and I've looked at those. They're still kind of clunky. They need a
yeah.
lot of work. I think Zoom is dialed in.
Hmm.
And that's why Zoom went from 10 million users to 220 million users, because they do have it dialed in.
Yeah.
And everybody's got a huge learning curve to catch up. And I think they're just going, oh, look at Zoom. So let me make one up. Right. But I've gone through the Facebook one. I'm sure they'll catch up at some point. And same thing with Google Meets. But right now, Zoom is the place to be.
As you pivoted into technology, did you see an increase in new students wanting to sign up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But right now it was more of the fitness side
Mhm.
because it's the low hanging fruit. The fitness industry has been conditioned to virtual classes for a long, long time, with Mirror, Peloton, different things like that. There's that guy in England that threw a PE with Joe, and this guy's getting 2 million views, and he's just some schmo in his living room. And now he's monetized it with YouTube and he's writing a book. So, yeah, I've always seen it. I think that the hard part, again, martial artists are still debating whether you can learn virtually or not. But I believe by default, a lot of schools have pivoted and they're out there teaching virtually. We've now earned the trust from the consumer. Number one, that they can learn martial arts online. And second, I think the instructor by default, again, is learning to trust that environment as a viable medium to teach martial arts.
you
So
know
I
and, and
think it's a good
I,
thing.
I think education is huge right now. I mean, with whatever you're doing, I mean, martial artists, fitness, even for me, SEO or social media, but it's that live interaction like you talked about,
Absolutely.
that gets the people to trust you better. And so yeah, we can't maybe go into a studio, we can't go on location, but if I can meet you face to face, or your instructors, or someone that will guide me into, okay, am I doing this push-up right? Am I doing this actual, kata right? This one
Correct.
step. It's going to be so much easier for me to learn, whether I'm in my basement, whether I'm
Well, the
in.
convenience that comes with it, Rob, we've had students come back to us now and say, hey, even though I'm out of state, can I sign up and train now? I
Yeah.
see you have virtual classes. Absolutely. Absolutely. The convenience of a mom sitting there halfway across town and the sibling's got a fever and the son's got to be in his martial arts class. She can now just pick up the phone and go, hey, can I do this virtually? And we go, yep. So we're going to keep the virtual medium and it's going to run side by side. Even when we go with our live classes, we're going to keep the full schedule of virtual
Hmm.
because the two factors that we can't determine, number one is fear.
Yeah.
We can't determine with data how long it's going to take for people to get over the fear to actually come back to your school.
Hmm.
And second is money. We don't know who's going to get a job back, what jobs are going to be there, what position they're going to be in financially.
Yeah.
So I do believe having a virtual medium that might be a bit more economical than coming in for live classes in a brick and mortar location may be advantageous because I'm not just drawing now from a pool that's 3 to 5 miles of my brick and mortar location. I'm now drawing from international world wide web. So
Yeah.
if I get 10 in Africa, 10 in Australia, 10 in Germany, I can pretty much put thousands of people through virtually.
Yeah.
So again, do I want to have 10 people at $1,000 a month, or do I want to have 1 million people at $10 a month?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think that's a variable that we're looking at. But please make no mistake, if you're not utilizing the internet, whether I have tons of e-learning products, I have a Facebook live show, I've been on so many virtual summits, I have another one, so the medium is there,
Mhm.
right? My TED Talk got more views through the internet than when I did the live event itself. The
Yeah.
live event might have had 100 people there, right? But the actual replay of it virtually is really where you add up the likes and all the rest. So please, if you're looking for what direction to head in this brave new world, make no mistake, Forbes magazine put a great article about that. A lot of magazines, the consumer mindset has shifted completely,
Hmm. Now,
right?
how do you teach a move such as a knife defense or a gun defense virtually?
Well, understand virtually, what do we have? Visual and verbal.
Hmm.
Visual and verbal. So you have to be able to articulate a technique really, really well. We use mediums like Minicam. I'm not using it now, but right now, if I punch with my right hand, you're going to punch with your left. So
Mhm.
ideally, with Minicam, right now I got to punch with my left hand if you're to punch with your right. So if it was a knife attack with my right hand, I would stab you with my left.
Mhm.
See, but I can do that. I can get into the camera and say, this is a panther. This is and you have that ability to work techniques that way. We'll do it from the base up. So we pan the camera down and get the footwork. Then we pan up high and get the upper body work. Then we'll move in close and get the fine points of the hand technique, how to grab the knife, how to put the wrist lock onto it, how to disarm that knife. And then we pull back to a full shot and we practice it together.
Nice.
And then
Yeah.
multiple angles, of course, with your back to the camera so they can follow you as if they're in a lineup. I mean, there's just, and it was trial and error. I
Mhm.
mean, because the martial arts has never done it this way.
Right.
But fortunately, again, one of the blessings is Millbrae is a heritage school, so we were allowed to facilitate distance learning. So I had my top team. I laid off 30 employees. I kept my 10 top guys, instructors, admin, and we came in here and we literally every day are just chomping at the bit. Well, how can we make this better? Well, how do we teach this? How do we teach that? How can we make this effective? And we've just really embraced it because our value, you can see it, it's up there on our back wall. That's our mission statement: live your best life.
Mhm.
We're one, a community dedicated to serving you and everyone to live your best life. We just simply said, how can we continue to do what we love and live our best life? And so it wasn't an argument, it was a matter of doing it. And Amazon, I don't want to compare myself to Amazon, but I opened San Francisco when the dot-com bust happened.
Yeah.
And then we had 9/11. Amazon was there. Then we had the mortgage crisis. Amazon survived that. Well, so did we. And now you look at Amazon stock today, and it's at some of its highest level, as is Facebook, as is Apple, as is Microsoft. But what we saw with that is moving in. It wasn't a matter of sitting there and debating. It was speed. Amazon is big on speed.
Yeah.
So when something like this happens, the faster you move, and you'll figure it out as you go along, the faster you move, the better you position yourself. And so now we're looking at, putting ourselves deeper into the stack. See, the challenge with the internet right now, see, there's not much of delay on our end because we're sitting here. But when you're teaching a class and you go to punch, there's a second delay going through once it leaves here. Everything here is hardwired. We're
Yeah.
Ethernet now. I've got a huge router pumping out the highest download, upload speed. Most martial arts school owners look at me and go, what the hell are you talking about? But it was just research. But the challenge is once it leaves our facility, Rob, we have no control. I don't know what kind of router you have. I don't know how close you are to your router. Are you hardwired Ethernet, right? Is somebody else on the internet right now in your home? On and on and on. So the goal is to get lower into the stack. I learned this. This is a good tidbit. iPads sit low in the stack, and the stack is fundamentally where things run faster.
Yeah.
So, you have the stack, network broadcasting, then you get higher Netflix, you get higher. But we're way up here. So that's why it's so hard for us to broadcast seamlessly without any lags, without any buffering issues, things like that. So we're exploring that now. Just to, again, we're improving that virtual experience. So I sit there on camera, punch faster than me, and I punch. I want that to punch to happen in real time
Mhm.
because that experience, that connection with you now happens. But if I go punch faster than me, and then my hand moves 2 seconds later, that doesn't cut it. So see, I mean, that's how deep we want to go with this. It's visual and it's auditory. So using music in class, running everything through audio interfaces. I mean, the whole 9 yards. So we've got both sides of it. That I believe is why we're in the position we're in today.
Well, you also took some of that authority, that credibility that you have, and you created a book that
Yeah.
others can emulate and learn. The book was called what? Live, Learn, Grow.
Live, learn, grow.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's at Amazon. It's on Kindle. I actually narrated that book myself in George Lucas's and Steven Spielberg's old studio. How cool is that?
Nice. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So it's where they conceptualized Jurassic Park and Star Wars. So I
Wow.
sat in a room where these guys sat, and that was pretty cool to narrate the book in there. Yeah.
It's just wonderful to see that companies like yours can take technology and instead of looking at a crisis as going, oh shit, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
You just implement and it works. Yeah.
It is, and it is work. I mean, there's still, it's a brave new world out there, Robin. There's a huge learning curve, but I think we're already ahead of that curve, and our commitment to that medium
Hmm.
is definitely there. So like, for example, we're going to start up summer camps here, but we're not going to start for regular classes. We're going to stay virtual, and we're
Hmm.
going to keep that as a medium, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to move the virtual studio right now,
Yeah.
um, once we start up live classes again.
And how were the students? I mean, I'm sure they had to transition a little bit as well, because they're not getting the camaraderie or the one-on-one that they used to get, but
Mhm.
they're adapting as well.
Well, they are, because I think we're really moving out of a me society into a we society, because worldwide we're throwing this thing together. Now, I
Hmm.
know there's a lot of separatism in the politics and everything going on here in relationship to that, but there is this whole organic, I would call it evergreen movement of people that are banding together, because we are in this thing together. Make no mistake.
Yeah.
We are. So the mindset of the consumer and their spending is shifting from me, 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 me to, oh, this company is donating half the money back to, you know, a fish farm in Haiti. So these community-based companies that position themselves marketing-wise, technology-wise, where they're also serving the community, and if you can 10x that, if you can amplify that, I believe you'll develop a new audience. So
Hmm.
one of the reasons I think we've survived so well is we already were huge on community-based marketing. I invest in my tribe heavily,
Hmm.
so we have relationships.
Yeah.
We don't have consumers, we have relationships. And if you have relationships, you're more likely to want to stick it out. You'll invest, you want to stay part of that tribe. So organically, I mean, we lost 200 students out of 1,000 right away,
Hmm.
right away. And the rest, some kept paying and or still aren't coming. And we hit them up, we call them, we email them. Hey, you haven't been coming to virtual classes. You realize you're being charged. Absolutely, no problem. We want to back you guys. We hate virtual. Okay. But we have this whole 350, 400 students that have been driving classes,
Yeah.
and they come because they're loyal and they're part of the tribe. But I think even more so than that is that we recognize we are in your bedroom, we are in your living room, we
Yeah.
are in your dining room. The level of trust to
Mhm.
invite us into your home has changed the relationship, and it's warped. I mean, like warp speed to a whole nother level. I can look at a kid and go, "Hey, sir, didn't I say the other day you should have picked up those books and cleaned your room?" And mom goes, "Yeah, thank you," and she's screaming in the background. So that's happening organically,
Yeah.
and I think it's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, right now you're getting right into their homes. You're getting into their offices. They're getting
And there's a
and
huge
and
level of
and
trust there,
and,
Rob.
and
There's
that's
a huge
stuff
level of
you
trust.
never saw before.
Nope, never, never, ever, never, ever, ever. And
Yeah.
so that level of trust that we're earning, the relationships we're cultivating, is
Mhm.
a community-based relationship that's virtual.
Yeah.
And make no mistake, it's not going to go away. If anything, the smart people, especially in our industry, are going to amplify that.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that's going to happen now is, we know they say 30 to 50% of martial arts schools are going to go to the wayside.
Yeah.
To the wayside. So
But
there's a whole nother consumer product, maybe with someone like such as yourself, where you come to me and you say, "Hey, I want to utilize your programs, your virtual learning, your belt system, everything.
yeah.
And I want to create a new online platform,
Yeah.
because I don't no longer have a brick and mortar school."
Yeah. And I think it's going to happen to a lot of
Mhm.
people.
I will.
A lot of students are going to, and you know, the area that I serve in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, we have some areas that don't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So in big towns like San Francisco, maybe there is a community-based Wi-Fi that everybody can sign into. I know some cities have it. We don't. So you
Well,
might have
there's
those
there's a
students
whole
that,
nother business there.
yeah.
I mean, to get people in fiber optic, whatever, Wi-Fi, and getting people introduced to that, we're having that discussion too, like a Peloton, like a mirror. Imagine if I could sell you a standalone device
Yeah.
that you simply plug and play, and you're able to broadcast my classes into your home.
Yeah.
What would that look like? Right? I don't need Comcast. I don't need those other things, because I have this a la TiVo. Remember TiVo?
Yeah.
Right? A la TiVo. I have this box that caters specifically to your programs.
Hmm. Or an app on Apple TV.
Absolutely.
Well, right there we are.
Absolutely.
We're inside your studio now.
Absolutely. But for the experience, I want to move them beyond at least, I mean, they'd have to use an HDMI cable, whatever,
Yeah.
because you want to then get to a bigger screen. I watch people do classes through a phone, do classes through an iPad. it's okay. But if I can throw you up on a 64-inch screen, something of that nature, it's a whole nother experience. It's like watching a movie on my phone. It's just not the same. So we really encourage people to try to amplify that on their end.
And it's all about the experience that you get. When you used to go to like Universal Studios, and they'd have this one three-dimensional or one-dimensional ride that you would get on and roller coaster up and down. Now you put on the special glasses, you get, the whole environment's totally different now. And, it just, this is what you have to bring to the table. You have to, kind of up your game.
Yeah, well, we're already exploring that. What would that look like with VR
Yeah.
or Oculus? What would that look like? Could I throw that punch and you virtually will be able to block it?
Yeah.
What would that look like? And at some point, pressure sensory, is that something that can be integrated? Can I put, something on my hands or the palms so when you virtually punch and I go to block it, I feel the sensation of impact? I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It really is. And I'm thinking and exploring all of this, and a great example, the movie theaters are closed right now.
Mm-hmm.
A kid's movie, Trolls, made more money in 3 weeks, than the original version made in 5 months in the movie theaters.
Yeah. And a lot of companies, in fact, I was just talking to a trademark attorney, and a lot of them are starting to trademark different things that they're doing,
Yep.
Classes that they're offering online, because now, like you said, it's worldwide. It's not just a brick and mortar location at a specific town. Now it's global, but you got to protect that intellectual property that you're putting out.
You do, but I mean, it's going to be hard to do that with other countries like China and the Philippines. I mean, you can't control that. There will be hackers, there'll be bootleggers. That won't happen. But the idea, I think you touched upon that, an app. You
Mm-hmm.
really need an app because you want to cultivate a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's those tribe of loyal fans. Seth Godin talks about that all the time in his book, Tribes. And I'm a big fan of Seth Godin and his principles. Cultivate that tribe, and it's hard to do that just out virtually, just at Zoom or YouTube per se. But I watch the YouTube following that some of these kids have, right? 4 million views, 2 million views, and I think the monetization is for every million views you get paid $20,000. Right? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of money that can be generated. But I believe the power of an app, to pick up an app and it tells you, wow, congratulations, you're the leader, you did your kata more times than everybody else this week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or you have that type of Facebook group page within your app where people are talking in China. This is how I earned the focus badge. Oh, this is how I earned the discipline badge. And you create that culture. And again, that's what the internet does. It connects everybody.
Yeah. And,
Everybody.
I think they need to be rewarded for the work that they do. And if they can't come in the studio and get a white belt, that app needs to say, you earned your, white belt.
And we have that
Congratulations.
already. We've done that for the past 2.5 months. You earn virtual life skills badges online. You earn virtual belts online. You earn virtual tips for a segment of what you've learned and passed in class. Yeah, we have all that.
Yeah.
We're way ahead on that. We even came up with a virtual coloring sheet that we give to the kids. So when they earn a tip, they color it in.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of a belt cycle, they've colored in all their stripes. They test, and when they're done testing, they color in this belt with their new color. And then they post it at Facebook smiling, or they send it to us as a screenshot. And we've been hand delivering belts to people's doorsteps. Yeah. Again, it's that experience. And what it was is, you're paying me this amount of money for a live class. The goal wasn't to say, okay, now I'm going to charge you half price. It really was, here's what I charge you for a live class. How much value do I need to add here to justify you consciously paying me the same amount?
Yeah.
And that's what we've been able to do.
But you also have a system that reaches out to these people. Like you said, hey, you're paying, but you're not showing up. So you've collected their data. You've collected their Facebook. I mean, everything about them. So you can reach out and say, hello, what's going on? Keeping in touch. There's a lot of companies, even fitness studios, that don't collect any information.
Well, let's just look at the big boys: Twitter, Facebook, Google. They're data mining. The money is in mining data.
Yeah.
and then analyzing that data to decide consumer spending habits, behaviors, et cetera, so you can predict with a little more certainty what is the next big thing. What are people going to do? I mean, Facebook is what it is because it mines data. Our whole lives are on Facebook. Nothing's hidden, nothing's private, nothing. Your
Yeah.
cell phone, they can tell where I am at any given moment, any time of any day. So it's all about mining data.
Yeah.
And if we can't see that, you don't have to be a rocket science to see that everything's about mining data.
Yeah.
So if you can mine that data effectively and apply it, I believe you'll not only survive this pandemic, you're going to thrive.
Yeah.
We're going to thrive. And I see
I
that's it. Martial artists are brick and mortar schools. You can only make so much money. Then you got to go do it 3 to 5 miles down the road and 3 to 5 miles down the road. But if you look at a company like Facebook and the speed, what, they're only 15 years old now?
Yeah.
That's crazy to the position Facebook's in today. If we can even leverage one drop of that market, martial arts schools are no longer, 60 to 100,000 profit a year. I mean, we do well over 2 million, which is unheard of
Yeah.
in most martial arts schools between two locations. But I'm not thinking 2 million a year now. I'm thinking 10, 20.
Yeah, because nowadays you don't need a brick and mortar location,
No,
because like you said, in order to grow before, you would need multiple locations.
that's right.
Now
Right.
you need one studio
Yeah.
broadcasting to the world,
Yeah.
and you could make $2, 3, 4, $10 million easily.
One, it's that platform, the right platform. We got to get into the stack. I mean, where the big boys are, like I said, the broadcasting companies where things are seamless, they're fast. I want to be able to pick up my phone and just go boom and be in the middle of a live class instantly,
Mm-hmm.
right? And be able to do that. I'd be able to Bluetooth it to my screen, but that's part of the education. I mean, imagine we just did a challenge. How fast can you pull up a class on your TV? And we have a stopwatch, click. And so people start getting in that mindset that, oh, I only want to watch this on a big screen. Oh, this is how I do it. So I think the challenge also, like you said, some people don't even have Wi-Fi
Mm-hmm.
in parts of the country. It's that education, that hand holding. And that's a whole nother division in your company to really go out there. What would that look like if we had our own little vans that went to your home and installed this system?
Mm-hmm.
Big Brother would pay me a lot of money for that data,
Oh yeah.
a lot of money, and that's a scary thought. But isn't that what it is? Look at the whole thing with Twitter, right? Trump said something and Twitter said, hey, this might be misinformation. Just pay attention for the very first time. So Trump says, I'm going to slap you guys. Facebook did a 360 and turned around and said, a 180 and said, hey, we're not going to police information. Didn't
Yeah.
you just sit there before the whole Senate hearing and say that you need to be more responsible? Well, I mean, data mining is it.
Yeah.
Is it. So if we don't recognize that, no matter what you do, whether it's selling cupcakes or teaching martial arts, if you're not a collector of data and then doing something with it.
Yeah.
See, that's the big thing. People go, okay, great. I looked at all the, uh, insights at Facebook of this ad. What do I do with it? Well, you tweak it.
Yeah.
You make a different lookalike audience, whatever the case may be. So if I could encourage anything to everyone who's listening is that, do you understand it's about mining data?
Yeah.
Make no mistake.
So how does the audience get a hold of you? Where do they go, and how do they sign up?
Yeah, for the lack of a better word, you can find me everywhere: LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Now I'm freaking at TikTok. My social media people have me doing little freaking dances at TikTok, and Facebook. It's easy. Just Google my name, Brannon Beliso. You'll find everything from TED Talks to books to e-learning products. I'm very big on e-learning products and whole nother avenue we want to ramp up and take it to a whole nother level because everyone's rebuilding now. And I think that's the beautiful time. When I saw the mortgage crisis, when I saw 9/11 and the dot-com, there was a whole movement of people that recognized this as an opportunity. And so they're out there amplifying it, or as Grant Cardone would say, they're 10xing it to a whole. And we won't see all the results today, but 3 to 5 years from now, when we clear this pandemic, which I believe is 18 to 24 months, whether we do herd immunity or it comes up with a vaccine, and two, the economy's got to recover.
Yeah.
But out of it's going to be a whole new breed of people that are doing things that are beyond, just way beyond. So Google my name, Brannon Beliso, Beliso, and you'll find me everywhere.
Find you everywhere, and that's what makes you an e-hero, because you're always pushing the education, you're always pushing the entertainment, and you're
Sir.
always you're pushing entrepreneurship. You know, so whether it's the physical, like the fitness that you're doing with the martial arts, or it's the books, the podcasts, the everything, you know, to me, that's the ultimate, you know, teacher right there.
Well, what
And
it
I
is
appreciate it.
simply, we all have our values, and living from your values is when I talk about living your best life, it's mind, body, spirit.
Hmm.
So those are three mediums that I cater to through social media, through brick and mortar, through seminars. I travel the world speaking and teaching now. And I spoke at Harvard last year. I've done Stanford. I was in Korea at the Kukiwon event, the biggest event in the world, and I'm not even Taekwondo. I'm not even, so I'm blessed with being able to share, because living my best life is giving back, is serving for me, and that's very important for me in my life. So to be able to do that and to be able to scale it and monetize it has really been a blessing.
Yeah, and I tell people, I said, you know, I don't think it's one style versus another. I think it's what you get out of it,
Yeah,
and that's what makes you a better person. So
I'm grateful.
yeah.
I'm grateful.
So thank you for your time, and
Thank you.
everyone else. I'll catch you on the next episode. Hey, chat with you guys later.
Thank you.